Welcome, friends and social media connections. Welcome to this episode of Selling That House. If this is your first time tuning in our episode, a big warm welcome to you. As I'm talking to you, I'm so excited today, and I'll tell you why. I'm excited because I was able to convince my work partner to guest in today's episode. That's accomplished number one. But you know what? Accomplished number two, for all of you watching who may be and are selling your house, she's got some stories to share. And I'm going to engage her in a conversation where her stories is going to give you a deep dive, a look inside all of the dynamics, the process of selling that house. My name is Bill, and once again, I'm so glad that you're here joining us today. If you've tuned into our previous episodes, hey, a big warm welcome right to you as well. Keep showing us the love, because in return, that's why we do what we do for you. So with all of that said, let me get my work partner, Emelie, ready to join in today's conversation. But you know what? Rather than just let her kind of pop into our studio, I'm going to give her a big warm welcome. Let's do this. Fan base, all of you in the conference room, let's give her a warm, big welcome. Here we go. Yes, Emelie, all of these fans, clients, partners of yours, they're welcoming you in today's conversation. So let's have it. Emelie, how are you today?
Good, Bill. Thank you for having me.
You're
Finally,
very,
me to show up.
you're very welcome. As I mentioned in the lead in the tease of today's episode, I said to everyone, um, you know, one big accomplishment, I was able to capture some of your time so that you could grace us with your appearance. But more importantly, it's really also to share a story or two of how you participating in the business of real estate helps many others in selling a home, buying a home, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
So
the exciting thing.
let me lead off with this one question. Because you and I are in the business together, we work with each other. So, audience members, let me whisper this to you, a little bias here, but I'm going to keep it as impartial as possible. So, Emelie, you and I know this for a fact. We hear it sometimes, and sometimes we're the ones giving this out, which is, hey, you should consider getting a second opinion, right?
Right?
So, audience members, you may have heard that too. For those of you who may be actively in the market, selling a home, buying a home, whether you're going to live in it, investment property, whatever your jam is, you probably have heard others telling you, oh, hey, get quotes from other people, talk to a few lenders. Yes, this is all about getting that second opinion. Now, in this vein, Emelie, um, why is it important to get a second opinion? I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Well, I'm used to the second opinion because to me, I feel like if you're gonna go to a doctor and you have something major that you want a second opinion on for your health, why not on your financial decision, the biggest financial decision you can ever make in purchasing a home. So I think big second opinion is a critical thing with your decision making. So with regards to purchasing a home, sometimes a second opinion is all about who you trust.
Yes.
And when you have somebody that you trust, you know that that is going to take you to the next level. You know that's going to close, the file going to close on time. So we as a lender, we would like to give you our second opinion to see what is the real situation and give you the actual outcome set your expectations correctly so that you can go from point A to point B in no time, and you can be able to do a fast closing. So in my case, a lot of my agents ask for a second opinion to make sure that the borrower, or if they are representing the seller, that the offer is really a good approval from a decision maker or a lender.
So let me ask this question. What I think I'm hearing from you so far is one key important word, trust. So let's play that back. It means the buyer on our side of the business, the buyer is trusting us to do the right thing to help them accomplish their outcome. But guess what, Emelie? Trust is a two-way street.
Correct.
Many buyers trust in the fact that with all of the lenders out there, that all lenders are created equal. And you and I both know this. Let's get real. That's not always true. So
Correct.
let's now talk about when you do get brought into a conversation to offer a second opinion. What is it that you offer to that client? Do you simply do what every other lender does, which is just do the simple qualification and a basic pre-approval? What is it that you do as part of you offering that second opinion?
Well, part of my second opinion is giving the ability for the borrower to really get an accurate and complete approval that is signed by a person underwriter. So it's
Wow.
not just the automated system approval. It's also about an approval that the borrower's conditions have already been checked off
Got it.
and approved. Therefore, when that borrower finds a property, they could actually close that loan. Our average is about, in my recent transactions, I average about 7 to 18 business days from the time of contract to closing.
So what I think I'm hearing is you offer when you are the lender offering a second opinion. You're not the incumbent lender. You're asked to step in and perhaps save a deal, save a client, or clear up confusion. What I think I'm hearing from you, Emelie, is that because you are able to provide to the client an actual approval, you're kind of saying we're going to do almost 70% of the work up front, right?
Correct.
Bingo. Love
Probably
that. Love that.
probably 70 to 80% of it, so that by the time I get that contract, all I really needed is an appraisal and the title docs.
Can you share with us a recent story of how in your transaction you helped a buyer? And what I think I remember was something like this to help you out. Your buyer in this competitive business of real estate was not the chosen bride. Your buyer was plan B or C. Am I correct?
Correct. She is actually like the next in line. There's a multiple offer situation.
Okay.
So she made an offer and her offer did not get accepted. So I said, don't be afraid to be a second position, because if that borrower, or whatever the seller had chosen, does not cannot comply or be able to close, then we can just be right there ready for you. And that's exactly what happened. And she said, um, now the property is back in the market, and the
Uh-oh.
house, except the seller wants us to close in 2 weeks. It's
Okay.
like, can you close it? So I said, well, it depends. It
Right.
depends if we're going to be able to close, to order the appraisal right away, or what's the situation with that property. And lo and behold, it's actually appraisal's already done, and we
Wow.
just have to transfer it to us. It's also an FHA loan, and
Okay.
there's a lot of moving parts to it, but we're able to get it done because the loan is ready. She's ready. So even though she wasn't the chosen bride, she was the bridesmaid. She got moved up to the front of the line, and it was
Now,
a interesting thing.
now, if I also remember, um, in this situation, because all of a sudden you had to move into pole position #1, social media friends. You had a short fuse, you had a short time frame to execute. What I think I remember is the other aspects of our business. It's crazy. It's called the domino effect. Am I correct to remember this? Your transaction representing your buyer client was the first of a total of 5 transactions in total.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. So in essence, what you're telling us, Emelie, is you stepping up, offering a second opinion, not initially being the chosen bride to go into escrow with a seller. You have to step it up, and in theory, you're saving the seller, you're saving all of the buyer sellers in the 4 transactions downstream, correct?
Correct.
Oh my gosh.
So my
So it's so impactful because now you've impacted not just one person's life, your buyer, but the seller, and then the pair of seller and buyers times 4 downstream, as well as real estate brokers, right? Our friends.
correct. Correct. So that's exactly what happened when I got the phone call that she is stepping up to be the next in line. I didn't realize that there's a seller that's selling the house
Got it.
and buying, and then that seller has another seller buying and selling. So there's 4 transactions down the line that would be a domino effect.
That's right.
Had this borrower not be able to close on time, or 2 weeks from that phone call, it would affect the sellers purchasing all those other properties as well. So in essence, my buyer rescue situation of being able to help her get the house, the dream house that she really wants, is also becoming a seller rescue situation as well.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. So let me pivot the conversation now to talk about what enables you to do this so well. You've heard me say this, when we see each other, given the fact that we're work partners, you've heard me throw down the cliche of, hey, real estate is a team sport. You believe that as well, right?
correct.
So what
Can't do this
underscores,
alone.
yeah, what are the critical pillars that underscore that? Because real estate is a team sport, how do you accomplish what you need to do, managing everybody inside, outside so well? Talk to us about that.
Well, first of all, the main thing that I do is I have very open communications with everybody, real estate agent, the title company, the attorneys in the team, as well as our processor. We have a really good back of the office, processing and underwriting team. Everybody is kind of like waiting in line. All right, is the ball coming? So
Right.
it's just like a
Team
football
sport.
where everybody is, yeah, all hands on deck, right? Waiting
Right.
for that pass through to happen. And so once I have my part of it done, transfer to another one, and everybody took it. And literally on this particular transaction, we had 24 hours from the moment I got the appraisal to get it to a final approval and
Yeah.
have the CTC. However, the main thing that really helped with this is to be able to close that loan on time, is that we were able to release initial CD on this particular transaction before we even get the clear to close, because we were waiting for that appraisal to happen.
So
So
what I think I'm hearing from you is that because real estate is a team sport, the process of delivering a mortgage, there's so many hands that touch processes. You kind of work many processes in parallel. You're never doing things one at a time, because that's kind of a time waster, right?
right.
Yeah.
So as we are waiting for one thing to happen, I'm getting the other side prepared.
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
is that is open communication with all the members of the team, because you can never do all this alone. So when
Absolutely.
everybody else are waiting, and the other side has the ball. So basically, they're ready to take it to, you know, the goal, which is the finish line of getting it clear to close, have the loan documents. Loan documents are done within, in this particular transaction, it was done like within an hour of clear to close.
Got
So
it. Got it. Let
we were
me,
able to save this deal.
yeah. So back to, the cliche, real estate is a team sport. For our episode today, audience members, as I teased you already, right? Emelie was kind enough to share with me her time, grace us as a guest in today's episode. And I was able to, after getting Emelie's commitment, I was able to lean on her and say, "Hey, didn't you have to work with like outside partners and this whole domino effect?" And she said, "Yeah, there were multiple people." And I said, "Well, tell me about one." And she said, "Well, there's an attorney, of course." And I said, "Oh, let's get that attorney into this episode." So, audience members, here's what I'm about to do. I'm actually going to add one of the partners, because real estate is a team sport, into today's conversation. Let's give attorney Dan Lyons a nice, warm welcome. But before I do, let's make sure he's ready. So hang on one second. Let's check on him because he's guesting. Dan, are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, we're coming. We're coming. Here we go. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Hey, William. Hey, Emily.
Hi.
So I gotta prep you in this way, Dan.
Can I just jump in for a minute? I didn't know you were going to tell that story. I definitely, as soon as you started telling it, I totally recognized it. Knew exactly what she was talking about. I lived it. It was not too long ago. Yeah, it was a rough one. Yeah,
so
it was impressive. We got it done.
Real estate is a team sport, right? True or false?
True.
Absolutely. All right. Here's my next question for you. Getting you warmed up. What's a pet peeve of yours, Dan, as an attorney in the business of real estate, sir?
Pet peeve. So let me start. You guys hit on it a lot in your earlier conversation, which I could hear. It's when you're dealing with people buying and selling homes, it's one of the most stressful things they can go through. I mean, you don't understand because we do it every day, like realtors and lenders, we're dealing with it all the time. You have to be really empathetic to their stress. And a huge part of that is the closing date, right? People plan for a closing date, right? They hire movers, they have pods, they rent pods, they have travel plans, they take off work. Taking off work is a big deal for a lot of people.
Right.
I mean, it's a whole thing. And then when you get close to that closing date and your lender's like, "Oh, yeah, we're not going to make that. We need another 2 weeks."
Yeah.
It's not a small thing. I mean, if a transaction from contract to closing goes perfect, people are still incredibly stressed.
Yes.
If it doesn't close and the closing date or anything goes wrong, it just adds so much to their stress. It really does.
Yeah. I hear you. What's another pet peeve of yours, Dan?
I would say on the lending aspect, everything's ready to go, and it's 2 days before the closing. They got the whatever your checklist is. They called the employer, verified employer. They got the last paycheck stub or whatever you need to clear them for the loan, and then they're like, "Yeah, I know the closing's in 2 days, but we're gonna need another 3 days because we got to comply with TRIT." So now we're not. We got everything we need finally, but now we're still not ready. We can't close on time because of TRIT. That's another extremely frustrating thing that happens. One more, if you want the trifecta, is on every contract, there's a mortgage contingency date when we're supposed to be ready. 5 business days. The standard contract for Chicago suburbs is 5 business days before closing. Supposed to be ready. When the lender doesn't reach out to me at all on that date and kind of tell me, "Hey, we're either ready," or, "Hey, I need a little bit more time because of this," and just kind of explain, or maybe even the day before or a couple days before would be nice. But it seems like with most lenders, it's me reaching out. Saying, "Hey, where are we at with this?" And they're like, "Oh, I got to call you back because I don't really know."
Yeah, I know.
That can be very frustrating.
That can be very frustrating because
Yes.
it kind of stops you dead in your tracks while you're managing your other client transactions and or just life, right? So
Right.
spot on. Thank you for sharing your time with us, our audience members, Attorney Dan Lyons, in today's episode of Selling That House. And for those of you who are watching today's episode, if you happen to be in the business of real estate, whether you're an attorney, a real estate broker, and you've got your unicorn unique story to share, how can you share that information with us? I'm going to make it simple for you. Simply scan this QR code. I will gladly start a conversation with you so that we can plan how you can guest in the next episode of Selling That House. So with all of that said, Emelie, Dan, thank you for sharing your time with me, my audience, and your audience as well on social media. And for those of you watching who need and will benefit from a second opinion, how can you reach out to Emelie? Real simple. Let me bring up her contact information. It's as simple, people, as calling or texting that number. So having shared some valuable content with all of you today, let me ask my music posse to play us out, and we will see you in the next episode of Selling That House.